Welcome, Mike. Firstly, how are you? Have you had a good summer off?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Seems quite a while ago now that we sort of finished against Ealing, but time goes quickly, and you've been working hard behind the scenes to try and get a squad together, and obviously we started on July the 1st as our first day back. So yeah, it's all gone now this summer.
Yeah, so you don't get much time off, do you? Is it from the last whistle at Ealing? It's all planning ahead for the new season, is it?
Yeah, been a bit different this year. Normally we finish the end of April, so it's a bit of an extended time off, but in terms of the players being around, but this year played way into sort of May, and pretty much the lads had the whole of June off. We've come back in 1st of July, so it's a little bit different, but nevertheless they've had a decent break, so I'm all ready to go now.
Great. So you said we've been back in pre-season for a couple of weeks now. How are the lads looking? Are they all fresh and ready to go? What's the Mike Rayer pre-season look like? Is it army camps are running, or do you get the ball out early?
Yeah, we try and do something a little bit different every year. I mean, mixing it up on a Monday this year, we've done some testing down at University of Bedford, which was fantastic, and last night we went dune running. To believe there's a sand dune in the middle of Bedford over in Sandy.
Yeah.
So did a bit of that last night, as well as some field sessions at Bedford School and Bedford Modern School. So we're trying to stay off site for this time of year, because obviously we're around here quite a bit during the season, so it gives the boys a different bit of focus, different logistic feel to it, battling against the sounds of the Bedford sessions on a Thursday night.
Tom Jones.
Bedford Park, yeah. So, but it's good, and the lads are coming in, great attitude, and all in reasonable shape.
Great. So can you give us an idea of how the squad's shaping up? Obviously had a few new signings and quite a lot of departures at the end of last season. There was six leaving at once. How's your squad shaping up, and have you got any sort of targets in mind? How does your off-season work in terms of looking at targets and scouting for other players? Does that work start earlier in the season?
Yeah, look, it's been tough this year. I mean, mainly because we haven't known until a late stage what we kind of knew briefly what next year looked like, but we hadn't really had a budget given because of the lateness of what the RFU have given to us. So, but the board have been pretty good. They give me a bit of a steer on what we could go after, but the market's been slow, if I'm honest. And trying to replace like for like or for better players has been quite hard going. I think we've done okay. There's a few more to go, but the main thing is we get our retention right first. So we kept 17 of our players from last year, which gives us a degree of continuity, and then add in some fresh faces and some new faces and new voices, and hopefully that will give us a bit of a lift. Obviously combine that with Tom Cruise coming on board as forwards coach as well. I think that adds a bit of freshness to the environment as well. So all things equal as we sit here now, it's been a tough few weeks, but we ain't far away from completing all our business for the summer.
So obviously you've lost Sean French on the right wing, had a slow start, but since the last 18 months he's been a key part of your back line. How big a loss will Sean be, and are you confident of replacing him?
Well, it's going to be a challenge, the amount of tries Sean scored, especially last season, that is a big hole to fill. Not only that, he offered something different in terms of his power and size off the wing. So we've got a couple of lads in, Louis James, back three, champs experience, Alfie Garside as well, who's rocked up, who's quite a physical specimen. But also we've got the bonus of having to be able to play Matt Worley on there. So you have to adapt your game, according to what you've got available to you. So that's the challenge for us as coaches, is to find a way to not so much replace the tries, but replace or get whoever fills that spot to bring what they can bring. You never get like for like in that sense. So perhaps it's the wrong saying, because Sean has been good for us over the last 2 years. But obviously there are other players out there now. It's up to them to come and grasp that opportunity. Now there's a spot free on that right hand side.
Yeah, you segued me perfectly onto the next steps, because I was going to talk about the new signings. Louis James comes from Coventry. What does he offer to the squad that you perhaps didn't have before?
Well, look, he's he's tried and tested in the Championship. He's still young, he's still aspiring, and he's got a good left foot, and he's got pace. All what we want in the back three, because we feel we've got some good playmakers in midfield, and guys like Will Maisie and Bouge, with the ability to put people into space, and having him, Dino, Garside, Matt Worley, there's an abundance of attacking intent from our back three, and that's how we like to set the team up.
Yeah. There's also a couple of new faces in the pack. Tommy Hernan was a name that struck out to me from Otley. Is that a signing based on his performance in the Army match, or were you keeping an eye on him for a while at Otley?
I often venture out to Otley. This great little village and a brilliant rugby club. And this year I went over to watch them, and Tommy stuck out like a sore thumb, and I didn't really go over there with the intention to be looking at anybody. I just wanted to see some grassroots rugby, and I was pleasantly surprised with the standard that was on show, and in particular Tommy, and we invited him into training, and he's been working with the lads for several months, and obviously with the Army game in mind, to have a look at him in real time, and he take his chance. I thought he was terrific on the evening, and
definitely
he's been impressing everybody with what he's been doing.
And you mentioned Alfie Garside quickly. It's from the Northampton Saints Academy. Was that Jake in your ear trying to sign his brother, or?
No, not at all. No, look, Alfie came to our attention last year because we met him before last season, but he went back to finish off his degree and masters at Bath University. So we didn't quite go through, because we felt we might have lost one of the back rows, one of the outside backs last year, whether it was Sean or Matt Worley or whoever. So we were always on the lookout, and Alfie impressed us, and we tracked him, and his name popped up again towards the end of the season, and it was a perfect opportunity with Sean making that decision to go back to Ireland.
Sure. So talking of Northampton Saints, it's been a few years now since the partnerships with the Saints has been in fruition. What's the benefits that brought to the club, not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of expertise and facilities? Imagine it's been a net benefit for Bedford Blues to have Northampton Saints on board as well.
Yeah, I think it works for both clubs, don't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you saw obviously they had the benefits of seeing the likes of George Hendy, Manny Young, obviously just gone on tour with England, but George in the cup final, and several other players who have come across and played for us. But you're right, it is more than that. I mean, we've got a good relationship with their coaching staff and their management, and I know Gareth, our chief operating officer, taps into their sort of backroom staff around the stadium and commercial and things like that as well. So it's been good for everybody, and I think we just agreed again to go for next year. So looking forward to it. We wouldn't want to work with the champions of England. I mean, it's
of course,
it's been a good relationship, and I'd like to think it works both ways.
Yeah. From a coaching point of view, how difficult can it be to welcome in a player to the camp for say 1 or 2 weeks, and then they go back to the Saints, and then they come back? In terms of continuity with the rest of the squad, from a coaching point of view for you and your team, how difficult is it? Is it much of a challenge for them to come in and obviously they know how Bedford Blues play, it's fairly common knowledge, but is it difficult for you to integrate them quickly and get them set up for a Saturday afternoon?
Look, there are challenges, without question. Lads who are working here, put a lot of effort in to claim that jersey, and what we have an understanding is that we actually see the Saints players a couple of weeks beforehand, and actually earn the right for that jersey. There's obviously various occasions. We only operate a small squad. We've been running at sort of between 23 and 25 the last couple of seasons, so we've needed players, and that was why the deal was set up. We're going a little bit a bit bigger a squad this year, possibly 26, 27, because obviously everyone knows the problems at Premiership level with the squad sizes being reduced. So we're just giving ourselves a little bit of an insurance policy by having a slightly larger squad. But to be honest, we're quite aligned in the way we operate and the way we play. So it's pretty seamless, obviously, in terms of the calls and stuff like that. However, obviously you do need relationship on the field to work, and from our perspective, the more time we see the Saints players here integrating with our players, you know, the better the relationships are being built, and you know, the better the understanding and cohesion gets transferred onto the pitch when you play.
Yeah, so you mentioned like the George Hendy and Eogan. Obviously, George Hendy player of the match in the Premiership final. Eogan's been called up for England in the tour for New Zealand. You know, how proud are you that you've played a part in their development, and you see these young players going on to bigger and better things?
Yeah, I just think it's great for them players. I mean, you know, ever since I've been here, we've had dual reg players, and it's been, you know, from Dan Cole in the early days, through the George crew and Saracens boys, and then the Saints boys. So you know, we only play a small part, but what we do is we operate a playing opportunity for them to showcase their talents in front of a passionate crowd, and you know, we set up to play good rugby and for them to come and express themselves, and that's kind of where we're at, and that's what we want to do. We're not you know, we love our stadium. It's a bit, you know, bit old, but it's our old stadium, and but what we try and do is, you know, we're kind of about the people, you know, the people that behind the scenes, the coaching, the staff, and the supporters in the town. You know, I think this is what's so great about Bedford is all about the people.
Yeah, I mean, we averaged over 3,000 here at Goldington Road last year, which is an excellent effort, and just shows how well regarded the club is in the town. Moving on to, you know, Bedford Blues are obviously well known for their attacking flair and the flowing rugby. Last year, I noticed from the press box a marked improvement in the defence. You know, you think of like the Caldy game, Nottingham down here, proper resolute defence. I noticed a marked improvement. Do you agree with that assessment? That there's been an improvement in the defensive side of the game, and you know, where has that come from?
Yeah, well, look, again, probably through the relationship with Saints, we had Jake Sharp for a couple of seasons running our attack, and you know, we brought Bruges in to look at our defence a little bit. So there's always been a good emphasis on our defence, because you know, it's the best place to attack from is when you turn the ball over. But last year we had Jim Henry come in from Saints and set up perhaps a slightly different system around our defence, and give it a bit more focus. And but ultimately, for me, you know, there's a lot of stuff talked around systems and things like that, but you actually got to want to defend, and that, a lot of that comes from within the group of having a tight-knit squad and wanting to defend for each other. And I think, you know, yeah, we work quite hard on it, whether it's individually or as a collective, but ultimately it's built from collective team spirit, and you know, it comes from the lads actually, because you know, we can't coach that.
Yeah. We
can set up the environment to hopefully you know, engage with that, but yeah, you know, it comes from running up sand dunes, or you know, running up Bedford Park Hill and stuff like that, and working hard to never give up your try line.
You mentioned earlier the quite a late decision from the RFU in terms of finances and stuff. It's been well documented, proposed changes to the Championship, new Tier 2 Board of Governors, possible promotion relegation. We asked our readers to get in touch with a couple of questions for them to ask. All of them asked the same question: is it possible for Bedford Blues to get promoted this season?
Well, of course it is. I mean, you know, but the thing is, what we've got to realise is, you know, there's a degree of reality around it, and the cost centres around that are quite astronomical. Now, we still don't know if there's going to be any sort of reward for being promoted if that was the case. And you know, currently I think we're 5,000 capacity, which I think hits the minimum criteria here. So you know, the question has been around forever, and we've never been able to answer it in fullness, because we've never won it.
Yeah.
So you know, until
it's
you
a
win
small
it,
matter of on the pitch and beating clubs like Ealing, of course.
There you go. So you know, we remain ambitious without question, and you know, but at the moment, you know, our focus is on player development, still making this place the best place to play on Saturday or whenever kick-off time is, and promoting enjoyment and a matchday experience. And you know, the offshoots of that, you're not going to sit here and say, you know, we're going for promotion, because you know, I'm not a big goal setter in that sense. All we ever do is talk about winning the next game, and if you win the next game, then you plan to win the next game and the next game, and where that takes you. I think there'll be a few nervous bodies on the board if we end up doing some good things, but who knows. But there's definitely an ambition, and if we get all the ducks in a row, then why wouldn't we want to have a crack at it? But it comes down to huge amount of finance.
Yeah, so obviously more things to come out of that statement from the RFU a few weeks ago. There's a sort of there's apparently going to be relaxation of ground criteria. Don't know what that specified is yet. There's new broadcasting rights in control from a new board. Do you think overall is that good news for the championship? Do you think?
Well, I think there's movement, and I think on both sides, from the championship and from the RFU, a willingness to make this tier 2 work. That's the real upside of it all. Obviously, the downside is that there's very little detail come out at the moment, but there's a year to go, and you'd like to think they get everything sorted, and by Christmas, January, whenever it is next year, the real detail will emerge around funding and the promotion, relegation, and player pathway stuff.
So finally, it's been at the end of this coming year, it'll be 20 years of Mike Rayer at Bedford Blues. What's changed at Goldington Road? What's been your highlights of the 20 years? That's a big question, but what's changed since you arrived from Cardiff, from that first game at Otley all the way through to here to 2024-25 season? Yeah,
look, there's a lot changed. You've got to look at the ground. Some of the improvements and the upgrading facilities has been fantastic, from the Dovecot Park suites to the SDC suites to the former players, the Borough, the roof on the stand, and there's obviously other bits behind. The floodlights have gone up. There's been a huge amount of finance being put into the infrastructure of this place, and whilst remaining its charm, that's the best thing. And the crowds are coming through the gate in their numbers. That's the most pleasing thing for me. Is I think we were 1,500 averaging when I first turned up with Jeff Irvine, and from 1,500 now we've pretty much doubled that, or 1,800 maybe. Actually, I'm probably exaggerating a bit, but from 1,800 to 3,000 in the second tier of rugby in England, I think it's testimony to what everyone's done behind the scenes, from board level through to the chief execs, chief operating officers, rugby administrators, office staff, even the cleaners. It's been a big buy-in, and I think the rewards are a great afternoon out on a Saturday or a Friday evening or whenever we play.
Yeah, I agree with that. As a fan, now as a journalist, I really enjoy coming to Goldington Road every other weekend. So thank you very much for making it the place to be. Thank you very much for your time this morning. That's all. All the best for the coming season.
All right, cheers.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Tom.